So I thought I would bring us in a little bit more up-tempo tonight. It's a little monotonous, but we're rocking out. Of course, it's another Tuesday evening, and so that means that Josh Cordell is joining me. Hello, Josh. How are you,
Hey,
sir?
Matt, how are you?
I'm good. You can, if you need to, do anything like take my tag and put it out there. Go ahead and do that. I can talk for a quick second.
Go for it.
We're trying to get as many people watching these as we can. So Josh is going to post it out. I've got it going to my live on my page just because I just wanted to blast it out to some of the people that know me too, because I think it's important that, especially in these times, that the most people get positive thoughts and positive talk going on. So Josh and I started this, 3 or 4 weeks ago now, and we essentially decided, you know what, we're going to do this every week. And so we are going to do this. So how you doing over there, Josh? Did you get it?
I'm doing great.
Are you
Yeah,
good? Okay, cool.
I am. Thank you.
So Josh, we have some, I'm going to call them the rewords. You wrote a blog, or you wrote a post on Facebook. Do you mind if I put your Facebook page up?
No, go ahead.
I'll show the viewers at home your rewords. So let's put that up here. I'll zoom in here a little bit so people can see it. So it talks about basically you responded to an email, and so kind of tell me the gist of it. But I like a lot of these rewords for sure. But what's the gist of it, Josh?
So I was responding to an email that the subject line said 2020, and when I responded, it said RE 2020, and it just made me think about like how are we responding to what's happening, and 2020 has been such a, I mean, what a year. So how are we responding to this year? But then I had just been having a conversation about how many powerful RE words there are. How you respond to things, how this is kind of like working as a reset for a lot of people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are going to have to reinvent themselves or kind of reimagine what's possible. There's going to be a lot of rebuilding that has to happen. We're going to have to be very resolute. There's just a lot of, show some resilience. There's all these like powerful words that start with RE. And then I like the idea of like RE 2020. So 2020 is like having clear eyesight, right? Like having clear vision, like being able to see something clearly. So I just like that kind of combination. So RE 2020, like what are we going to do? And so, yeah, it's just kind of a challenge that I'm putting out there for people to think about. Is the very first part is how are we going to respond? So I love the saying that life is less about what happens to you and more about how you respond to what happens. And so a lot of things are happening to people, and the question is, how are we going to respond?
Oh yeah, totally.
So that's kind of where that all started from.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's I love, like I said, I love this list. And I just moved off of it, but the list is fantastic. I mean, you got a lot of rewords in there. I mean, what of that list, what's sort of like one of your favorite words, Josh?
So for me, refocus has been a big word because it's the idea of like, what am I focusing on? So what am I focusing on today? So I'm not someone who watches any news on TV. So I haven't had to deal with that. But I do read articles. I read a lot. I try to read a lot. And I at the very least read headlines to articles. And so the question is like, what are we focused on right now? And am I going to be focused on the same things that I have been in the past, or do I need to do kind of a refocus and determine like what do I want to be thinking about? What kind of info do I want to be taking in? Like where do I want my focus to be? So refocus is a big one. And then I also like the idea of reimagining. Like I think a lot of people are having to reimagine their businesses. There's a lot of people who are gonna have to be rebuilding their businesses, but in the process, the world may have changed just a little bit, and you may have to actually reimagine either your business or reimagine what you personally are going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So those are big ones for me. I could go on and on about this. I'll do one last one. Reinventing.
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea of like that you can reinvent yourself.
Right.
And I've been writing something about this recently of just about 5 years ago, I kind of reinvented myself in that I wasn't a reader, and I didn't listen to audiobooks. I just wasn't a book guy. I liked the idea of books,
Yeah.
but I didn't ever have time for them. And I decided to kind of reinvent myself as a guy who would listen to a ton of audiobooks. And that was something that, like, now 5 years later, that really stuck. And I'm a different person because of it. So it is very possible for us to reinvent ourselves.
Yeah, for sure. Looking at this list, I just put it back up. Another couple that I like, I think that are really important right now as we're going through this whole thing would be, it's funny, relaxation. I think we sometimes forget about the fact that we need to relax. I think we're either going 100 miles an hour, resilient. I mean, these are some really good words, Josh. I don't know. I mean, did this just kind of like come right off the top of your head, or how did you come up with these?
It was really funny. So I had written something before, and it had maybe like 5 words that started in RE. In fact, I think that it was right around Easter time, and I was just kind of thinking about like rebirth and redemption and those kind of words. And it just got that train of thought where I was like, man, that's a list that just can go on and on. So then when I saw the email that said RE 2020, I was out on a walk and I pulled my phone out and I just started writing down like all the powerful RE words that come to mind. I'm kind of I wouldn't say I'm a great, like, well, I don't know what the right word is. I love words. I don't always use them correctly. I can't spell most of them, but I love words, and I love like diving into like, what does a word really mean? And so it just kind of started flowing, and it just really almost caught me off guard where I was like, man, so many of these words are so important. And like you said, relaxation, like rest, relaxation, rejuvenation, like those 3 words to me are huge right now, because I think that downtime doesn't necessarily always mean rest and relaxation.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. And that's the challenge with all downtime is not, and in this time it's been difficult because I know we've had these conversations, but downtime honestly is very much on time most of the time these days. We don't really have that time. Now, you did mention that your downtime, before we went on air, you had you walked 6 miles, and you also admitted that during that time you weren't necessarily having downtime the entire time, Josh. So
I send, because of the coaching and mentoring I do, I send a lot of text messages to my clients and to their families and stuff like that, just kind of checking in or scheduling things and stuff. So I'll send a crazy amount of text messages in a day. So I sent a lot of text messages on that walk, but I was also able to take time. It was a long enough walk that I was able to take, 20-minute chunks where you just have your phone put away and you're not doing that and you're just breathing in nature. And it is so relaxing. And back about maybe 20, 30, 40 pounds ago, I was a runner. Now I'm more of a walker, but I'm going to try to get back to being a runner. That's one of my goals for this next month, is to actually start running. And that's part of what I was sending a lot of text messages on, is I'm really into this idea of setting some goals for May. I think that March and April kind of bled in together, and I think it's a really good idea for people to think of the month of May, like, what do I want out of this month? What are some like tangible goals that I can set, and what are goals that are under my control, so that I can kind of refocus on that and not have goals that are like, well, I hope the government does this, or I hope this tech does that, but to have it really be like, here's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to commit to it.
So committing to that, whoops, that was the wrong input. What reword is that, Josh, for you? Is that, let's see, rebirth, rekindle?
That's a good question.
Rebuild, reinvent.
Well, so rebuild is a great one. One of my clients who's a golfer, he said that he's rebuilding his golf game right now. And he was already a very good golfer. But he's like, there's no golf tournaments. So there's no pressure of competition right now. But golfers can go and golf. So he's using this time to rebuild his golf game. So I think rebuilding is a pretty good word when it comes to goals, as far as like if there is something you want to get back to. So I'm going to try to kind of rebuild my running a little bit. Um, but yeah, that's a good question. I'm going to look at the list and see if we can come up with what's the best word that has to do with goal setting.
Yeah. Well, it's specifically, I think, related to your goal of, that's, exercise and, rebuilding yourself more than anything else, I think, specifically. But yeah, you're gonna have to look at it, Josh, and figure out what what word
Right.
that's.
Well, and I think that refocus and reminding
Mm,
yourself are really important in this. Like refocusing on a lot of people have had things that they've been working to that kind of got either derailed or delayed or just stopped. And it's easy to be like, well, when life is back to normal, then I can like do that. But I think right now is the time to refocus and be like, well, can I keep doing that? Like, can I be really productive during this time? And I've had, in fact, that's another conversation we'll have to have. I have tons of stories of young people who are doing awesome things right now who just decided, like, you know what? I was buying sneakers online and selling them, and I'm going to take this time that I have right now and make it a full on business and like actually do really well with it because now I have all this time.
yeah,
Or I'm going to rebuild my golf game, or I'm going to like do that, finish that website that I had started a while ago, and now I have time to actually like study really how to build a solid website. So there's people using this time really productively. So yeah, I want to challenge people like, what do you want out of May? What would be, if you refocused and said, what do I really want here? Then ask yourself that question.
yeah. Well, and as a small business owner, I mean, these words, refocus, realign, redefine, resilient. I mean, I have had to essentially be, I had to refocus, I had to realign, I had to redefine because I did not even have a business going into this, and then I had to be resilient into the fact that once I set the course, I just had to make sure that I was going that right direction. So this is just a great list, Josh, for sure.
Thanks, Matt. And
Yeah.
there's an excellent book by John Gordon that's called One Word. And it's the idea that you pick one word for the year. Um, so you pick this one word, and the idea is that, like, obviously your life is bigger than that. You can't put yourself in a box of that, like, one word defines me or anything. But you have this one word that you're able to just keep coming back to so that you don't get too distracted. You don't get too scattered. You're
Mm.
like, am I about this thing? And then you pick a new word every year. So that's a practice that I've been doing for a few years, and it's been enjoyable, and it's been really like I've really benefited from it. But I'm seeing like with the rewords right now is just kind of where my head is at, and I just keep saying like, okay, how am I going to respond to this? Like, how am I going to like how am I going to? And I love the rebuild word because I think that it's easy to sometimes think that like we're going to like rebuild our own lives and stuff, but really there's a lot of people who are going to need some help rebuilding.
Hmm.
And it's pretty obvious that like building people up is a good thing. We all know that, but now we have to like shift our mindset just a little bit and realize people not only need to be built up, they need to be rebuilt. Like
Right.
there's going to be a lot of broken people through
Yeah.
this process. A lot of kids who are going through really hard things that we have no idea about right now because we're just not aware of their situation, and they're going to need to be rebuilt. And just and it's like that idea of like we always need to be built up, but now can we rebuild people who are getting knocked down?
Yeah, and I think these conversations are always great, Josh, because it reminds me of the things that we are constantly going through, and I think going on the air we talked about this whole fact about response also,
Mm-hmm.
because we have the opportunity to respond in specific ways, and if you frame it within these rewords, it becomes an easier response. For instance, do I need to respect somebody? Do I need to reconnect? Do I need to, reconcile? I mean, these are all really great words as far as to realize. Oh, look at that. Realization. Josh, you missed one.
Right?
Realization.
It's the list could be very long, and I like that's one of the things I want to challenge people to do is like add your words too. Like come up with, what would be 3 words that you could really hold tight to and take ownership of. But like you just said right there, that was like 10 words you just said. That those are all make sense for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you going to reconcile with after this? Like is there someone in your life that you need to reconcile with? Who do you need to show more respect to? You just nailed like a few that it's like, oh wow, that applies.
Yeah. Well, and that's what is so neat. I mean, that's what's so great about looking at the opportunity to reimagine. What our lives look like. What is it? What is that? What do we want? I think right now we get so locked up in this constant quest of daily. Oh, I just got to make it. And I think I would encourage everyone to just take a step back and rest and reimagine and rejuvenate, because the reality is we all have an opportunity to just be in that moment and figure out what we want, because we might have had a job. I mean, this is the reality too, is we may have had a job, honestly, that wasn't right for us, and we don't have a job anymore. And is this an opportunity to go find the job that is right for us, and take that opportunity to do it? So instead of living in the fear of, oh my gosh, I lost my job, I challenge you to go, move forward and say, hey, what kind of job do I want? What am I really good at? I think this list is a good reminder of that. Gosh, man, I keep using rewords. I mean, wow, it's crazy.
Yeah, I've been, after I saw that kind of the subject line in the email and saw the RE 2020, I was like, man, there's a lot of things happening in 2020. I just saw that, like, people are posting the news story about the Pentagon releasing footage of what they're calling UFOs
Oh
and all
yeah,
of the stuff. And it's like, it's just a wild time of where that can happen. And it didn't even like register on my radar as far as like being a big deal. I'm like, oh yeah, of course there's UFOs. I wouldn't. But all of this stuff happening, how are we going to respond? Right? How are we going to respond? So
right.
we don't control what happens, but we do control how we respond to it. And so, responding in a positive way and just resilience, man. Before all this happened, the 2 words I just kept coming back to were kindness and resilience. Of where I work with a lot of young people, and I just always tell them, if you can be kind and resilient, you can have a pretty good life. Like, helps if you're got other things going for you, but if you can fall back on being kind and resilient, like you're going to keep persevering and you're going to have good relationships. And um, so, being resilient is a word that like I feel like we all have to be very resilient.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like there's just a lot of and again, my situation is so different than someone else's situation,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that we know that people have hard situations, but I don't think we're even close to understanding how hard some of those situations
Mm-hmm.
are. And so, and I hope that I can like reach out to those people, but I don't know if they get to see this content or anything. Um, but if you are going through that, like, man, be resilient. You may have to reimagine some things. You may have to reinvent yourself a little bit. But sometimes having a reset like thrust upon you is actually a blessing in disguise, because you can come out the other side being in a better situation than you were before.
Right. Yeah, I think one of the other words that I'm drawn to on this list, Josh. I was just going to look at this here. Um, what was it? Oh, was it replace? Yeah. And I think, and I just wanted to take a moment with replace, because so much of the time I've talked a lot about fear, and I love the acronym. I don't know, Josh, if I think I've said this before, but I don't know if you've ever heard of fear as false evidence appearing real.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because half the time we don't know. We really need to question whether it's real or not. And but you replace those fears with joy, or for us that obviously, of the Christian belief, we have a higher power, we have a God that we can replace that fear with, and know that that's not what God wants us to do. But I mean, whether you are of that persuasion or not, simply replacing that fear with joy, with hope, with anything gives you a positive, or at least starts you on the road to a positive mental attitude. And I just, again, another one to, I guess, encourage everybody to sort of replace
Mhm.
those feelings. So, I mean, if you were to look at, I guess, one word, Josh, that we've talked about a few that you were strongly, drawn to, but what is one word that you would take into your heart tomorrow to say, hey, this is kind of what I'm going to lead my day like living with tomorrow. Put you on the spot.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. I'm going to say, um, I love getting put on the spot. That's really good. Um, I'm going to say respond. We've talked about it a little bit, but I feel like it's so powerful because here's the crazy part about life. We have a million opportunities a day to respond. So we just are constantly given opportunities to respond. So I'll give you an example. I was walking down the trail and there was someone pushing their mountain bike and they were trying to get up a kind of steep spot. And all of a sudden there's an opportunity to respond. And in normal life, I would have jumped in and grabbed their handlebars and said, hey, can I help you? But I started to, and they looked at me like, don't come closer to me. Like, you're getting kind of close. And so I was like, oh man, I forget. Like, we're living in a time of, COVID-19, 6 feet
Yeah.
distance, like all of this kind of stuff. So instead, I smiled and said, "You got it. Like, you can do it," and just carried on my way. But we're constantly like given these opportunities of how are we going to respond?
Right.
We get bad news. How are we going to respond?
Right.
We have someone who confronts us with something. How are we going to respond? We get cut off because there's not as much traffic, and so people are driving a lot faster and not too concerned. So someone cuts you off. How are you going to respond? So you are just constantly given the opportunity to respond. And just imagine if you responded in, none of us are perfect. I'm so far from perfect. But imagine if we were able to respond in a more positive way than we normally do. And we made that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
We made that how we are. Where we were like, I have the opportunity to respond to this. But it's like you were saying earlier, it's like replacing fear with joy, replacing fear with love, replacing fear with peace and positivity, any of those things, any of those fruit of the spirit kind of things. Um, if we replace bad reactions with positive responses, then like what would our life look like? What would the people in our life, how much would they benefit from that?
Right.
So that would be the word. That's my word tomorrow. I'm just like, how am I going to respond to this? Like, how am I going to respond to, uh, it's that whole very powerful message of it's easy to respond to love with love, but how do you respond to the other stuff?
Right. I put you on the spot. I should probably do the same for myself, shouldn't I?
Do it.
So I think I love the respond. That's a good one. I think for me, I think it's probably. I mean, well, it's constant right now, but it's this whole resiliency. That it's just a constant struggle to get up in the morning and just, I mean, the reality is my days, some days like today, I think I started at 5:30 and we're, here it's 8:30 at night, but wouldn't do anything different because it's fun and it's enjoyable. But I still have to be resilient. I still have to get up in the morning going, oh, because I know tomorrow is going to be almost as long as this day. And the reality is, resilience is such an important part for, I think, all of us right now going through what we're going through. And knowing that there's going to be a tomorrow. As I am prone to say, because I had a counselor that said it, today is the only April 28th, 2020 that you're going to get. What are you going to do tomorrow? And so you have that resiliency to realize, hey, tomorrow is April 29th, 2020. It's the only April 29th, 2020 that I'm going to get. So, what does it look like? And the resiliency to just get up and keep moving forward. So, Josh, is there anything else that you would, any sage words of advice you'd have, right now for us?
I love the word resiliency. I'm glad you chose that one. That's like my go-to. I just think about that word a lot. And I think that sometimes we can get, sometimes there can almost be a harshness for people who are just like, they just get up and they just do what they've got to do. And so it's that balance of like soft on the inside, hard on the outside, where you're kind and resilient. So I love like every time I use the word resilient, I always throw kind in with it, because a world full of really resilient people who are kind to each other is like a world I want to be in. So yeah, that's what I'd say, and I think we can all benefit from just being. We have to be resilient, right? We got to keep going. You got to press on. Like you can't quit or give up or like stop. Like there's too many people relying on you that care about you. You matter too much to not keep moving forward.
Right.
So yeah, be resilient.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
Tuesdays with Josh. Tuesday positive talk with Josh. It's always a pleasure, man. And continue to be good. Continue to do good like you always do. And I always appreciate looking at your Facebook posts and positivity that you spread. So I thank you very much, man.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for doing this, and this is so cool. I mean, I've been seeing, like the people you're having on and the info you're spreading and just how important this is, and what a great use of your skill set and your skill set as the technical side of it, but then also like just you as a person, your ability to communicate and connect with people. So it's so cool that you do this. So keep up the good work, and talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Josh. Hey, have a good week. Enjoy your family, man, and we'll talk next Tuesday.
Sounds good. Thanks,
all right, sounds good, Josh. Talk to you later.
Bye.
All right, yep, that was Josh Cordell. Another positive talk with Josh on Tuesdays. Hey, you know what, everyone? I thank you for joining me today. It's been just such a blessing to be able to do what I do for you guys. Had three things that we broadcast today. Got another one on the hopper that I'm working on for economic development for Central Oregon. You know what? It's been a great day. Tomorrow's going to be another good day. So just remember, show up for Central Oregon.